That was Beyonce. Cuff It. You cannot live in a major city in the United States of America and not be confronted with the homeless problem. It is particularly bad in Los Angeles and New York, where I have residences. You can't drive down the street in Los Angeles or an underpass without seeing homeless people, or a parking lot. You can't go downtown to dinner without seeing homeless people. They are everywhere. In New York, if you get on a train or a subway, you're going to see homeless people. I've had a place in New York, I guess about 15 years. I've taken it to the subway many times. And on that subway, you will see all kinds of things, particularly a lot of homeless people that you see them peeing on a plane or train, or masturbating on a train, or selling batteries or highlighters, or saying all kinds of things, dancing and singing. They're pervasive. They're everywhere. And one thing about being homeless is that oftentimes they are invisible. Matter of fact, the one way to be particularly invisible is to be black, to be homeless, and to be mentally ill. Mentally ill. Now, a lot of the people who are homeless have been our veterans. A lot of people are people who are families, and their whole families that are displaced. A lot of people have mental problems or drug problems. But the quickest way to be invisible, triple invisible, is to be black, homeless, and mentally ill. Now, case in point, Jordan Neely, a young man who was on a train, was grabbed by the neck by a young Marine, 24-year-old young man, held him by the neck by 24 hours. Now, the thing that's interesting is I don't have to be a coroner, nobody does, to know that if you cut off a human being's air supply for 15 minutes, they will die. 15 minutes. As a matter of fact, 4 to 6 minutes, they've ceased brain function. They're brain dead. So whatever you were afraid of before, or whatever you were allegedly addressing before, was long ago done. Everybody on that train knew he was killing somebody, as evidenced by all the people who was trying to stop him, trying to make him let go, and he refused to. The way to be invisible is to be black, to be homeless, and to be mentally ill. That is the way that you draw the eye. Why is it that when we see a murder, you'll see some bureaucrat, some politician, some mayor, or some district attorney, or some somebody in law enforcement say, "Oh, there's nothing to see here. There's nothing to see here." We watch a man who was held by the neck for 15 minutes, and he of course expired, as we knew he would be. That chokehold is banned in most of the United States of America. Police departments can't even use that chokehold. But when AOC says she saw a murder, Eric Adams, the mayor of New York, gets mad at her because he said that she's jumping to conclusions. Now, let me ask you something. Why is it hard to tell when someone is dying? Why is it hard to tell when somebody's being murdered? 15 minutes, somebody gets their air cut off, they're not going to make it. And why are you more angry at somebody who noticed the murder as a person who perpetrated it? Why is that? What bothers me about people is that this will more than likely have a different tune if people rise up and start protesting. It is not uncommon for a murder to happen, for people, bureaucrats and politicians and mayors and district attorneys and law enforcement officials to go, "Oh, we didn't see any evidence of any wrongdoing," only to have the public see it and react. The thing that bothers me the most about things like this is the indifference. They've already had the indignity of being homeless, of not having any place to lay their head, but to be treated inhumanely. They're at the very least humane. Now, I'm not pretending like I have the answers, but I know that the answer can't be slaughtering them wholesale with nobody being brought to account for it. Particularly by a man, Eric Adams, who 2 or 3 weeks ago was lampooning the separation of church and state and talking about how he was guided by his principles. And there is no way to separate church from state because he governs according to his spiritual principles. But you are indifferent when a homeless man is murdered? You can't see that? There's a scripture in the Bible, and it talks about, when I was hungry, you gave me something to eat. When I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink. When I was a stranger, you invited me in. I needed clothes, you clothed me. I was sick, you looked after me. I was in prison, you came for me. And then the righteous will answer him, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go to visit you?" And the king said, "Truly I say to you, whatever you've done to the least of these brothers and sisters, you have done to me." Who is least in the homeless? Who's least in it? Now, I'm not saying that the answers are that I have the answer, but I know they're not slaughtering people. I know to deal with the homeless problem, you shouldn't let vigilantes get on trains and choke somebody to death, and then be indifferent about it, as if they haven't suffered enough. And if you are so inhumane that you can't know a murder when you see it just because of their station in life, then it is not the homeless humanity we need to check. It is yours. That's a little note from the GED section. We got the Jazz Report coming up in 15 minutes. It's the D.L. Hughley Show.